What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new video on my channel. But before we get on to the topic for today, I would love it if you did a few things. Hit the like button, subscribe button, share button, and bell icon so you get notifications for whenever I come out with new content on this channel. And then when you are finished, leave me a comment below. That way I can get back to whatever it is that you had to say about this topic. For today's topic, I want to do a Shea Butter Mama case study on y'all's girl, Jennifer Lewis. So let's get into it. For those of you all who are not aware, Jennifer Lewis recently had an interview with Stephenasmith, and she had some scurvy things to say about black men. And I want to really dive deep into why this is problematic and why we also need to just take a good look at her personality and how it really showcases how she is a Shea Butter Mama. Now, for those of you all who have not watched the video on when I talked about Shea Butter Mamas, I'll give you a brief description once again on what this is. Those of you all who have been following me for a while know that I have used the term Shea Butter Samba quite frequently. And that describes this idea of a black woman, a specific black woman who believes in the empowerment of black women alone in the black community. They don't care about anybody else who is black besides themselves. And they are willing to selfishly take opportunities and do other things that disrespects other black people, specifically black men, based off of their own grievances. And what this typically means is that they see themselves as a race or a cultural group that is very specific. So in other words, being a black woman is a specific race and a cultural group. They don't see themselves as part of the collective of black society. They see themselves as separate. So a lot of times they act as a Sambo, which is why I said Samba, because it's female. Because essentially what they try to do is separate themselves from the rest of the black community while trying to reap the benefits of being a part of black society at the same time. So in other words, when we talk about racism and racist things that go on, they want to be included. They want to feel like they're defended and protected. But when it comes to other opportunities, they are willing to disrespect and demean and do all these other things to black men publicly and talk about us in a horrible way. Oftentimes when it comes to this Shea Butter Mama, they are either single, divorced, or they are married but they're with a man who is a simp. And generally this woman is disrespectful, mean-spirited, unfeminine, unloving, loud, abrasive, and any other term that you can think of that you would not desire in a woman. Jennifer Lewis is notorious for playing the role of this exact type of woman. So she has literally made a career of being the toxic black mother and disrespecting black men as well too. Now what she's doing is going and doing the same thing and shilling in the media and in interviews and talking greasy about us. But we really need to take a deep dive into everything that's going on with her. So for those of you all who did not watch the interview she had with Stephenasmith, the whole premise of her argument is that black men are responsible for Trump being in office, and she is criticizing us by saying all these different things, such as how we're, running up in people's homes. You have the uncle who, raped a black woman or raped a young black woman or a black girl and all this other stuff. So she's just kind of throwing all of the blame on black men as to why Trump is in office, and talking about how we didn't want a black woman who was powerful and beautiful and joyful and all this other stuff. And that's the reason why, she's criticizing us. And I really want to kind of talk about how this is problematic. First of all, if you look at the statistics, black men voted for the Democrats larger than in a larger amount than any other group. Black men voted, 79% of black men voted for the Democrats. And again, that was higher than any other race or cultural group of man. 79%, and I guess we can just call this 80, right, is pretty high. And mind you, I'm not somebody who supports the Democratic Party or Kamala Harris. But regardless, the facts are the facts, and it shows that we actually did. So for her to complain about it being the reason why he didn't get in office is actually quite a disingenuous claim. And then she wanted to sit around and disrespect us by stating all these different tropes that have been made about us. She's trying to propagate that into the world by disrespecting us. I mean, think about it. She was talking about how, she was using worst case scenario situations. I mean, we have degenerates and horrible people and awful people in every single group, but she sat there to make it seem like there is a systemic issue of us doing terrible and horrible things. It's almost as if she was upset because we didn't get in line more than what we did. And again, 79% is a pretty big number, but let's just talk about that for a second. Jennifer Lewis, you do not get the right to disrespect us, especially when you have made, again, a career of mammying and looking for white zaddy to give you opportunities. That's why you were John Voight's side piece. I mean, that's what these shea butter mamas do. They were these bust downs back in the day who aged out, and all of a sudden they want to make it seem like they're this empowered black woman. No, you wanted opportunities. You wanted a platform to disrespect us, and you wanted to be able to do that as a day job. And then you wanted access to white Vienna sausage. Let's just be real. But when it comes to black men, you don't get the right to disrespect us because we are nothing like the stereotype that you try to project. Black men are not concentrated on oppressing black women. We're concentrated on getting our money up. We are individuals who are insightful. We are individuals who are highly intelligent. We are individuals who are highly resilient, despite all of the hate and venom and vitriol that people like you and the white supremacists throw at us all the time. We are individuals who want the better for black society and really society as a whole. And we work towards that. We see the bigger picture. We see what we need to do in order to make a better life for our families and, again, black people as a whole. After all, we are asked to lead, and sometimes while leading, we may say that this thing that you believe is cool is not the way to go. The problem is that you don't want to follow our leadership because you are bitter as hell. This is a woman who has literally been engaged 4 times and never got married. That should tell you something about her character and who she is. And here's my thing about that. It's one thing for somebody to get divorced once or whatever the case may be, it didn't work out with your partner. But I mean, if you're getting just engaged 4 times and it just doesn't work out all of them, you have to look at the pattern. With Jennifer Lewis, there is a lot that is going on there. And let's be real, y'all. She's also crazy as a witch doctor. Let's be real. Because even when she was in that interview with Stephen A. Smith, she was just being theatrical beyond hell. I mean, literally, it was almost as if she was still in this acting role when she was speaking to him. Think about it, she was overly sensational. She was crashing out. She was hyperbolic. She was just doing the most. And it's almost as if she was in character while speaking again to Stephen A. Smith about black men and criticizing us. And you can kind of see that because the reality is that she is an individual who is trying to be impressive to black women, specifically young black women. But at the same time, she also is bitter, and she's trying to take that energy and pass that on to younger generations of black women and convince them why they also should hate black men, be an individual who is going to seek white acceptance And also, again, white Vienna sausage, as I said. She wants to convince black women that they should be independent of black men by just portraying her behavior and disrespecting us and publicly saying things about us that are either untrue or are negative stereotypes that have been vastly preached by the dominant society that don't apply to the majority of who we are. For those of you all who do not know, there is a term out there that is called simulacrum. For those of you all who do not know what this means, it's a term for when the facade that you try to create vastly mimics your real life scenario, or starts to vastly mimic your real life scenario. And I had a conversation with my man, Marcus Bowden, shout out to him if he's listening to this video, where we talked about how in a lot of instances, these actors and actresses tend to play roles that are very similar to their actual real life scenarios and who they are, almost to the point where you realize they're probably not really acting for real. And Jennifer Lewis falls into that. And we can kind of look at some of the TV shows and movies and everything like that that show an example of what I mean by that. Look at Poetic Justice. She exemplifies this shea butter mama trope, like I said before. She was very unloving. She was very unfeminine. She was very abrasive and uncaring when she was dealing with her son, which was Lucky, which was Tupac's character. If you all remember in the movie Poetic Justice, Lucky was a post office worker. He had somewhat of a career. So he had a pretty stable job is what I mean. And he was bringing money into the house because he was living with his mom. And his mom was browbeating him about doing something with his life. Yet he was paying the bills, almost like a son husband. He also was trying to take care of his kid. So essentially, she was trying to browbeat him as if he was a deadbeat, a pookie, and some bum-ass Negro who really didn't have anything going for him, when he essentially was almost like the fake husband. He was an individual who, even when he told his mother about wanting to be in the kid's life, she was trying to make it seem like she didn't really want to have anything to do with that. She said, well, I'm not trying to take care of no more babies, yada, yada, yada. Instead of being happy for your son and trying to basically make positive statements and cheer him on, here she was, again, being unloving, uncaring, and unfeminine. So that's one example of where she exemplifies shea butter mama-isms. The second thing that you see is in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which everybody knows her for her Aunt Helen role, where she said, you know, that's it, I'm going to get me a white man. She also divorced her husband, who was in the show as well, too. And she always seemed to have some problems with him. So you can see, too, how this mimics Jennifer Lewis's real life. And again, the shea butter mama trope, where again, their whole idea is to show why it's okay for them to reap the benefits of things such as seeking white zaddy. And then you can look at, you know, movies like Think Like a Man, specifically the second Think Like a Man movie, where, or actually both Think Like a Man movies, where she was always up in her son's Kool-Aid. She almost was like the other woman. Every time that he was trying to have a relationship with Regina Hall's character, here she was trying to have game night with him and have movie night with him and spend all this time with him and all this other stuff. And it almost seemed like a low-key Oedipus relationship, like she had a thing for her son or some shit. And then even when she was out of place, when it came to their relationship in the second movie and the son checked him, there was, again, Regina Hall's character there trying to soften the blow and trying to basically make it seem like he had to apologize to her. That's the thing that you have to understand, is that this is all about how shea butter mamas operate. They're very toxic. They do a lot of things that are sensational, disrespectful, rude. They don't think before they speak because nobody ever holds them accountable. They are individuals who are just seen as these mother figures that everybody should love and respect and adore, when they have done nothing but tear down the men in society because of their own issues with the men that they chose. And again, I'm giving you all these examples to show you that in a lot of the roles that she's been in, she exemplifies a lot of the traits of what you tend to see with these shea butter mamas. And she also, she was almost playing the role, different roles of everything that you would see with this type of trope. All right, y'all, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you all enjoyed what I had to say, and I'll definitely have more to come, so make sure that you stay tuned. Other than that, I will talk to y'all later. Peace.